So I'm going to start off today with, I'm going to spend my time talking about digitalization, but I'd like to set the stage with a few definitions to get us on the same page and talk about what NDE 4.0, how it's defined, what it really looks like to me, and talk through the whole process of a model that I put together around the process of digitalization and break that down a little bit, and then talk about the benefits that you'll see for your NDT company. And then a lot of times digitalization, digital transformation feels very, very overwhelming and intimidating. And so I'll kind of break it down into a few steps at the end, give you some tips on how to get started if it's really, really new to you and you're just trying to figure out how to get started with digitalization. So you may have heard these terms, digitization versus digitalization versus digital transformation. So I'm going to share with you some definitions on those terms, and then of course, how does that relate to NDE 4.0? So starting with digitization, that's really, it's all about data. So digitization, this definition, by the way, comes directly from the dictionary. It's a conversion of text, pictures, or sound, which is analog data, into a digital format that can be read and used and processed by a computer program. And then all of a sudden, there's some really cool things that you can do with it. So really, digitization is just about making data digital. So data that might have previously been analog, now it's in a digital format. Digitalization takes it a step further, and digitalization is really about creating digital business processes and changing your business so that you're actually operating from a digital platform. So it's providing new revenue and value producing opportunities for you. And it's, digitalization is kind of about what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about my history and sort of my passion around making companies more efficient and effective. That's what digitalization is really all about. It's about making changes within your company through digital technologies to do your work better, faster, and cheaper than your competition so that you can become better in your industry at what you do. And so I look at digitalization as being about processes, so making your business processes digitalized. And then finally, digital transformation is an extension of digitalization to really expand across the entire organization and incorporate culture into the mix as well. And so I look at digital transformation as being about the people aspects of bringing people into it and thinking about transforming your business and how you work and the makeup of the people within your organization, and across all disciplines. It's not just about IT, it's about your operations, and it's about your marketing, and it's about your sales processes, and it's about your organization and everything. And so it's digital transformation really comes down to a very holistic picture of digitalization across your whole business. So those are kind of the three basic terms. I do sometimes interchange digital transformation and digitalization. You'll see that a little bit in my the model that I put together. But let's move into a little groundwork around NDE 4.0, and I like to start with the industrial revolution. So as you know, there's Industry 1.0, Industry 2.0. Industry 3.0 was really bringing computers into the world to help make industrialization more productive and more effective. So it's eliminating a lot of those paper processes that I know a lot of companies still use today. Digitization of data, so creating digital data formats so that you can have software programs to help manage and run your business and run certain tools within your business. And then Industry 4.0, which we're really on the cusp of right now across a variety of different markets and industries, is about connecting digital systems together. It's about exchanging information in a digital fashion. It's about creating smart machines that learn from other machines and learn from data output from other machines and kind of interact that way. So it's really, really fascinating. And it's definitely about creating and more global productivity, if you will. And so how do we get to NDE 4.0 here? And I'm going to pull, this is a slide that I borrowed from Johannes Vrana, and he talks through how the industrial revolutions relate to non-destructive evaluation. And we have the progression of NDE 1.0, 2.0, where you're starting to use electrical equipment and being able to see into equipment beyond your five senses, and then bringing computer and automation into the industry and being able to do calculations, being able to start to use robots and a variety of different digital technologies. And then NDE 4.0 corresponds with Industry 4.0 and tying into those technologies through digitalization, through creating networks. And I really love the picture down at the bottom of that NDE 4.0 column. You can see it's really about the interconnectivity of people with equipment, with information, and bringing that all together to create more effectiveness in the industry. So I've created my own definition around NDE 4.0 that pulls it all together, that goes like this. It's utilizing, NDE 4.0 is utilizing Industry 4.0 concepts of smart, connected digital systems to bring more intelligence and automation to the NDT industry, using that knowledge to improve POD, improve asset safety and integrity, and basically creating a safer world with better performing industrial assets and fewer catastrophic incidents, which to me is kind of the nirvana of non-destructive testing in NDE, is to get to a point where we're being proactive about the servicing of industrial assets to prevent catastrophes from happening. And to me, that's really, really important work, what we do. And so having that vision is really important. I like to share this picture with people, and a lot of the components around the outer circle you'll recognize, things like augmented reality, industrial Internet of Things, all these really cool technologies that are enabling for the non-destructive testing and inspection industry, and being able to use robots where you were previously using humans, and helping to prevent human injuries in situations like that. Being able to use continuous monitoring devices to collect information on actual industrial assets, and then using that data to create digital twins and improve those digital twins, so you have a digital representation of an asset that's sitting in the field. And that makes it a lot less expensive to run experiments and figure out and understand where things might be with this particular industrial asset. So there's a lot of these technologies that are really fascinating, are very, very relevant to the NDT and inspection industry, but they all depend on digitalization, which is as you might remember, it's that digitizing processes. So creating these processes and this communication that enables the networking and the transfer of information and knowledge across different systems. So that, for example, you may have data coming in from a continuous monitoring system being analyzed through analytics and through an AI engine that helps to drive improvements to a digital twin, for example. So that's an example of all that. And you can't have that without having that connectivity, without having digital data, and without having digital processes to manage that. So how do we get there? The process of digitalization for an organization, I look at as an ongoing process. It's not really a once and done, which is why I've built this model as a cycle. And we start with the strategy or the vision, which is really why you're going about this. And it really is about making your business better in one way or another. And then in order to understand if you're getting better, you need to take measurements. So that's kind of the where stage, where you identify what your key performance indicators are. You identify what kinds of metrics are important for your particular business, and every business is a little bit different. And you measure where you are today, and then you create these targets and measurements for the future on where you want to go, where you want to be, where you think you can be more competitive and provide more value to the industry and to your customers. And then we move down to the what phase, which is analyzing your processes and how you do your work. That's all about understanding how you do your work today, and or actually what it is that you do, and then moving into the how. That really is involved in the technology that you use to do the work that you perform. And then finally, the who phase is your people, it's your employees, it's the roles, it's the responsibilities that they have, and it's your training. As you add technology into your this whole journey is about creating additional opportunities and more efficiencies, and you do that by incorporating new technologies. And as you do that, you've got to create training programs to train your people and make sure that they're engaged and involved in the solution. And then we move back to measuring, right? So once we've created a change, we want to measure that again, see where we are, stay in that place for a while, and then maybe tackle another potential transformation of your business through another digitalization cycle, and we start over again. So that's kind of the whole picture. I'll dig into each of the components. Again, the why is your vision. It enables people to see the benefits of the journey. It keeps your team motivated. It keeps you focused on track and sets up this culture of innovation and purpose, which is really, really important and very valuable for your team. And I like to encourage companies to come up with really concrete statements when they come up with this vision. So things like, within the next 2 years, we are going to eliminate all of our use of paper. And it may take a couple of cycles of digitalization to get there, but that is your vision. It may be around analyzing your project costs and becoming more profitable. It might be around customer satisfaction and providing more value to your customers so that they'll continue to use your services. It may be about the reliability, consistency, and accuracy of your inspection results, and creating a consistent process across 20 different inspection teams. And it may be sort of a better, faster, cheaper type of process improvement that you want to put in place to make your business better. So that's really the why, creating the vision around why you're going on the digitalization journey in the first place. And then the second piece, which is the measurement side, this is all about creating a consistent process for measuring relevant data points. So it provides you visibility into progress. So as you go through a cycle, you measure where you were, where you were, and you see improvements that you've made. This also allows you to kind of quickly see where you might be having problematic areas, where you've put solutions in place that maybe aren't creating the results that you thought they would. But it does enable you to create this culture of focus on results, and it allows you to celebrate successes. So the important thing in this space is to really identify what the key KPIs or key performance indicators are for your organization. And again, that can be a number of different things. It can be your probability of detection, your inspection accuracy. It can be how long it takes you to complete projects. It can be your profitability. How much work can you perform in a particular period of time. All of those things, any or all of those things can be your measurements where you want to create improvements for your business. In the what phase, this to me is really, really a fun process. Some folks can find it a little bit, it ends up being a lot harder than you think. So when you get into the process of what you actually do within your business and you start getting into the details and all of your different processes, you'll recognize that your business is a lot more complex and complicated than you think. But building process maps is what I recommend you do, and I also don't recommend that you bite off everything at once. And as you continue to do multiple phases through this process analysis of your organization, it tends to get easier. But it's about mapping out your organizational processes, determine where your inefficiencies are, identify where you think you can make improvements. You may identify processes that you perform within your organization simply because it's always been done that way. And maybe with additional tools and with additional technologies, you can change some of that. And how, where might you be able to incorporate technology to make improvements, to lessen errors, create collect data to create insights, things like that. All of that is embedded in your process analysis phase and defining what it is that your company does. And then we get into the fun part, which is the actual technology. So the how phase is about building your digital foundation, and then once you've done that, creating the digitalization across your business, and then adding things like analytics and continuous monitoring devices and things like that are really going to take your business to the next level. I do like to encourage people to, again, not bite off too much at once. Think about digitizing as much of your data elements as possible, and even that might not be all possible at once. There are reasons why a lot of work is still done today on paper, and you may not be able to take all of that away at once, but you can definitely make progress towards that. Digitalize and automate your processes as much as possible, and then implement technology to remove some of those inconsistencies in your processes, the error-prone components of your processes, and then really try to focus human engagement where it's necessary and where it's really the most valuable. And then finally, that brings us to the people component of the process, and this is really, really important, because in order to make your changes work and provide value for your organization, your team has to be on board, and they have to be trained to use the new technologies that you've put in place. I do like to encourage people to stay positive and recognize that change is hard for people, and sometimes that impedes user adoption of new technology. People can be resistant to changes, especially when they think that their job is threatened. So I like to encourage people to think about you've got to consider your workforce and your skill sets and your capabilities, and you know that digitalization is something that you really need to do to stay relevant, to stay competitive. You're going to need to adopt a digital foundation. You're going to need to adopt digital technologies in the future and set yourself up for success down the road. And you want to engage your team in that. Your team is really important. NDT knowledge is still going to be critically important. Understanding what you do and why you do it, and understanding the processes that you actually perform is highly valuable. So think about focusing on training and change management within your organization to really bring your digital transformation to a reality. And then, of course, then we get back to the measurement phase. This is kind of where the cycle starts again, where you measure your progress, you celebrate your successes, and then you might identify another step and kind of go through that cycle again. So that's sort of how I see digitalization and digital transformation as an ongoing process improvement process that helps you become competitive, stay competitive, and continue providing additional value to your organization and to your customers and to the industry at large. So what are the benefits that you'll receive? And you'll receive these benefits really almost immediately, almost as soon as you get started. You'll notice that you'll see that your team will become more efficient with digital processes and digital data. Once they get used to it, they'll become a lot more efficient at what they do. It's just that's the reason that it's becoming such a big thing, and especially in this industry, is because of the efficiency aspect. I really love this bullet point number 2 about knowledge, because knowledge is power, and the more knowledge you have, the more data you have, the more knowledge you have, the more powerful you are. And so that digitalization helps you get to that point. As you have more knowledge and you understand your business better, you can focus on areas where maybe you haven't been as profitable and really take your business to the next level, becoming profitable, providing more value to customers. I can't stress that enough. That's really super important to your business. Your customers bring you revenue and really make your business successful. And then, of course, generating better cash flow and less administrative overhead by removing your paper processes, your manual processes, creating this digital system that feeds upon itself is going to enable you to have more cash flow and less overhead. And so overall, digitalization allows you to generate better results for yourself, for your employees, for your customers, and for the industry, with less cost and more quickly than before. And that's really what it's all about. So now just I want to finish up the presentation today with a few tips on how to get started, especially if it feels like this, digitalization is overwhelming, or it feels like it's really a lot of work for you. So start off with the simple things. Start off by trying to eliminate paper and think about, why is it that you need your paper processes? What does it take to get them digital? And again, like I said earlier, that may not all be possible right off the bat, but that's where I would start. That's a good way to start, is to digitize your data collection. There's a lot of data in testing and inspection, and so that's a great place to start. And then secondly, and aligned with that are your processes. So creating, trying to think about where your processes are not so efficient, where you may be performing tasks manually that would be much faster, more efficient, more consistent if you had a digital process. So that's really the next phase. That's sort of the digitalization. Data management. So I encourage people, when they start thinking about NDE 4.0, you sort of automatically jump to AI. And you know that what AI depends on is machine learning and basically analytics. So in order for an algorithm to provide value to you, it's got to understand data, and it's got to really recognize how you do your work, how the data is processed. And so I encourage people to think about data collection, and even if you don't know what to do with it, start collecting information. Once you have a digitalized process and digitalized data, you can start collecting that data and organizing that data, and you can do that in a data management system. And even if you don't know quite what to do with all of that data, I encourage you to collect it anyways, because historical information is extraordinarily valuable down the road, even if you can't envision that necessarily today, or if you don't have all the tools to make it valuable. So collect data. And then I also like to encourage digital communications, which are much more efficient and effective. And that, I think of that in two ways. Within your organization, I like to think about, you've got your level 3 experts that really understand how to look at data and analyze data and make results. And then you've got your folks that might be in the field performing or overseeing inspection processes, the actual process of collecting data. And being able to connect those people in a digital fashion enables you to make really good use of your expert resources that maybe don't have an interest to travel anymore, or be kind of out in the field doing the hands-on work anymore. So that's there. And then also communicating with your customers in a digital fashion, enabling, providing them with digital reports, real-time progress reports on how your inspection projects are going. That's a lot of value. It's a lot of additional value to customers that may today only see the report when the inspection is completely finished. And I know that these NDT inspections tend to take quite a bit of time, and being able to provide progress reports to your customers real time has a lot of value to it. And then you can move to performing simple data analysis. It doesn't have to be anything super complex, looking at trends, looking at statistics, looking at your historical summaries, and learning from all of that. And then, adding some of those NDE technologies, analytics, machine learning, AI, and moving to continuous monitoring and IIoT, creating digital twins and things like that. Those are all, you're setting yourself up for all of that down the road. It's all about learning, growing, and improving. I know this has been a really high-level introduction to digitalization. You may still have questions. I wanted to put my contact information out here if you're interested in talking about this further. It's something that I love talking with people about. I know that every organization is a little bit different. So digitalization for your company is going to be a little bit different than digitalization for somebody else. And that's kind of the beauty of it all. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And I also like to invite you, if you want to learn more about Floodlight Software, we do have a product introduction and demo session today at 1:30. Eastern time, and then we also have it again tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern. If you'd like to get a little view of Floodlight Software, which is a digitalization platform that was built specifically for inspection and testing companies.